Hello, and welcome to the Meet My Network series. And in this episode, I'm going to interview Jose Herrera, who is a lovely guy from Malaga, who's now a lawyer and has a very long and established practice in Bangkok, Thailand. And for those of you who are thinking about relocating to Thailand or working or setting up a business in Thailand, this is going to be really fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. So let's get into the interview and see what Jose has to say. How are you, and how is life in Thailand?
Excellent. I mean, just finishing the week here in Thailand, in Bangkok, and also a pleasure to be invited for this interview, and a pleasure to talk to you again, Nick.
Yeah, me too. It's been a long time. I think I first met you in Manila back in the 2010 sometime. Anyway, I obviously know a little about you, and I know you come from Malaga, and now you're a leading partner in a law firm in in Bangkok. So perhaps you could tell us a bit about your journey from Malaga to Thailand.
Okay. I would say that I mean, I am originally from Spain, from Malaga, but my family come from Argentina. That's why I have two backgrounds, Argentinian and Spanish. Since I was child, I would say that I was always interested about Asian culture. I remember that I was when I was a teenager, I was practicing martial arts. I remember that my sister went to study English in London, and then all her colleagues there were people from Hong Kong, from Macau, and my mother bought a book to my sister about pictures of Hong Kong, and that was in 1993, 1994. And I remember my sister didn't pay any attention to this book. She put it in the shelf, and she forgot about the book. But I remember, even I was a child at the time, I was looking these pictures about Hong Kong. I didn't imagine that I could come to this region in the future, but I was very impressed about the architecture of the skyscraper, the temples. So I was very impressed about what I saw there. I started to do martial arts. I started to think, to love about Asian food, that I could reach in a city like Malaga, mostly Chinese food, and later some Japanese. And then 23 years ago was the first time I came here. I remember I was quite young at the first time when I came to Thailand. If I'm honest, I didn't like it,
Yeah.
but I liked Vietnam. I liked Cambodia at that time. So maybe that time I was not able to understand everything here about this country, about Thailand. Later, I came back here again, and then I changed my mind. I saw the country in a different way, and then well, I was even I was graduated in law in Spain by the University of Granada in Andalusia. Then I will always work abroad. No? So after finishing my studies, I started to work in the UK, then later in Poland, covering the countries of Poland, Czech Republic, and Slovakia. And later I went to a project in India that it was a disaster. It never happened, but I was there. And later I went to Malaysia and spent some years in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, working there. And later was the opportunity for me to come to work in Thailand and set up this business we have here in Thailand in the legal sector. So it been like it was not I would say it was not a direct journey to Bangkok. Before that, I had to experience many things, many other countries, many other cultures. Also, maybe to get older a bit more and to understand more this country. And now I would say that I would consider this my home.
Right. So you, in some shape or form, you've always been a nomad of some nature.
Yeah, correct. And also very different countries, no, because Malaysia and Poland has not much connection. So I changed the 20 degrees below zero too, the palm trees and the monkeys of Kuala Lumpur. So it was like a totally different atmosphere change. But every place I went, I think every place, and I think you will agree with me, Nick, because you also live in many different countries, that you always learn something, no? If you are
Yeah,
enough
totally. Yeah.
to learn what is positive about a place, what you can learn, no? Then it's something that you always bring with you in the journey, and then you can use it that in your next destination.
Yeah. So one of the most important things that I want to talk to you about, there's been a lot of press recently from the Thai government about how they want to make it easier for high net worth individuals to come to Thailand and relocate, especially with the as I said, with the high net worth foreigners. I wondered what your overview was and if it's really changed. I noticed also that they had made some offerings about allowing foreigners to buy land for the first time, which obviously, as far as I've always been, it's always been not possible to own individually, land as a foreigner in Thailand. So I just wondered what your whole overview was for foreigners, high net worth individuals actually coming to Thailand, and how the government's trying to encourage them to come to Thailand.
Well, I think things are going in the good direction. I really believe that the government of Thailand, after the pandemic, also during the pandemic, they learned many lessons, no, about the things that had to be achieved, also things that had to be amended in order to be more attractive. Because now I think all the countries now, they are basically competing each other on a regional basis, no. Not only regional, I would say worldwide, no. And now, because the pressure of the different revenues department with the taxes, also about the regulatory framework, sometimes not very positive for the foreigners. So Thailand had to make some changes. No? That was the natural course of actions. No. So during the pandemic, because during 3 years, basically, the tourist industry was very, very damaged. No? It was really a terrible time for the people who were have business related to foreigners or tourists in places like Phuket, like Krabi, Koh Samui, Pattaya, or even Bangkok. No? So these new amendments in the law, these new regulations, come from this understanding that they have to attract the visitors, the foreigners, to not only to do business here, but to also to become tax residents here. No? So there was like a different amendments in the law. For example, there was a new visa that the government launched, the long-term residence visa that can be applied by by high net worth individuals, also for high skilled workers, also for people who are retired. So different profile of people who before was very, very difficult for them to obtain a long-term visa in Thailand, and now they are eligible to get this long-term visa, plus get some tax incentives once they become tax resident in Thailand, meaning when they spend in Thailand more than 180 days. So these synergies between different policies from the revenue department, from immigration, all created by the Thai government, is making Thailand more attractive than before, no? Because I also see the perception of the foreigners sometimes before, I would say, before the pandemic, many foreigners only consider Thailand like a place for holiday, for to go to the beach, to have access to a bit of the paradise. But now, because this long-term residence visa, also because some tax incentive that the government is granting to individuals and also companies, is making more attractive Thailand for high net worth individuals. So in the last year started, we started to receive many inquiries from high net worth individuals coming from all over the world. I would say from UK, Hong Kong, Norway, Netherlands, to become tax residents here in Thailand, to apply for long-term residence visa, and to be able to establish here for the taxation, and also because it's a good balance between lifestyle and also business.
So how do you define the term a long-term visa?
Okay, long term, maybe there are different kind of visa that the foreigner can apply into Thailand. Before, and it still exists, no? You have the retirement visa when you are above 50 and you comply with certain requirements about the money you have in the bank account or the money you perceive per month from your country. Then you can get a retirement visa. You can renew once per year.
Is that being made any easier now?
Now it's much easier because you have the same visa as before, like a non-B visa, retirement visa. You have Thai Elite visa, the same like before, plus new immigration products created by the government of Thailand, designed to attract not only these people but also high net worth individuals or wealthy families who can be relocated in Thailand, and because the tax law in Thailand also they will have more benefits if they stay here in the long term than to stay in countries in Europe or in another location. So.
Okay, that's good news, because when I was living in Philippines, what I tended to find around the British community, at least, a lot of them actually started in Thailand, but they ended up in the Philippines for various different reasons. And maybe if Thailand can address some of those, that's time for another video as to why they ended in the Philippines. But if they could address some of those issues, that would be very, very helpful, I think.
The government is trying to go in this direction, and I think it's the good direction, because this should have been done, I think, a long time before. But now I think because the pandemic, I think everybody learned a lesson, and then it's happening now.
Okay, that's really, really cool. So something else I wanted to ask you, which is actually more to do with your career and your work. Lawyers need to do a lot more work overseeing a property purchase transaction than they do in Spain, in Thailand. Perhaps you could give us, and give the viewers some sort of understanding of the different types, the different additional work that you have to do in Thailand compared to, just signing at the notary in Marbella, for example.
Yeah, no, it's completely different. I mean, both. I mean, the example you gave, Spain and also Thailand, both are civil law jurisdictions. So the understanding of the law is civil law. It's not common law like Hong Kong, Singapore. So here is a civil law jurisdiction. So we see similarities with Spain about the law. But in practical, for example, when a client comes here to the office and then they want to buy, for example, a condominium, any place in Thailand. So we always suggest to do, first of all, a due diligence, on the property and on the transaction. Why? Because we recommend to minimize the legal risk to zero or almost to zero when it comes to purchase a property. First of all, we have to check that the 49% of the units available in the project, in the condominium building, is available for foreigners. Most of the cases, based on my experience in 10 years, I remember I only saw one case. I remember it was a condominium in Pattaya, where the 49% quota of the units were already complete for foreigners. So it was not possible to register another title deed for a foreigner in that condominium project. Only one case. In all the cases, we make a due diligence in all the places in Thailand. Always the 49% was available. In addition to this, sometimes we always check the updated version of the title deed in the land department. Why? Because sometimes some title deeds, for example, sometimes happen. Like, for example, it's two brothers who inherit the property from the father, and they are fighting in the court in reality. So we have to check that the first of all, that you are talking with the real seller of the condominium. Second thing, we have to check that there is no litigation pending on the property. So, and also we have to check that there is no encumbrance, there is no loan, there is no mortgage in the property. So the client can understand that they are not going to face any legal risk of this. In addition to this, this is something we do also after the due diligence. The due diligence is positive. we accompany the client to the land department to register the title deed under his name. But for this, he has to bring money, the money to purchase the condominium from abroad to Thailand. Why? Because the Bank of Thailand will issue a certificate called FET, foreign exchange transaction, that this is a document that proves that you have brought the money legally into Thailand, and there has been an exchange of the currency. With this document is very important, because if the foreigner sell the condominium in the future, in order to bring the money, to remit the money abroad again after they sell it, they need the FET for the bank to allow that they can send the money outside of Thailand again. So in addition to this, there are many things. There is also something that we recommend always to our clients, is that they do the house registration of the property under their name. In Thailand, the house registration for the Thai people is a blue book, for the foreigner is a yellow book, and this will allow them to save taxes when they sell the property again in the future. And also this leads to, if they want, they can also apply for a Thai ID document that will allow them to do many things in Thailand like a local. So I think there are many factors, many things that they have to consider to buying a property, and we as lawyers, we try to reduce the risk to almost zero for them, so they feel calm and they continue enjoying this beautiful country.
That sounds particularly fantastic. So one point that I sort of picked up on there is, if I buy a condominium in Thailand and I'm lucky enough to sell it for 20 times my value, the document I've just signed, does that mean I can take all of that 20 times out, or am I limited to the profit that I can take out?
You can take it. You can take everything out. I mean,
but you need that document that said you bought the money in the first place.
Yes, the FET is very important, because this will be the proof that you purchased the condominium with funds that come from abroad. So after that, if you sell the condominium with a higher price, then you can remit this money to your own account, for example, in Portugal, without any problem, any inconvenience, and the bank will allow this with this supporting document.
Right. And then I think the other thing that would interest most people, how easy or how difficult is it to set up a business as a foreigner in Thailand? I know you and I had some conversations before I decided to come back to Europe, so it'd be quite interesting to see how the land as in 2023, how the land lies in relation to that.
Okay. Thailand has been always like a very international place to come. I remember before the pandemic, I used to have almost one meeting every hour, every day, from people coming from all over the world, coming to set up companies. Now, things have changed. I have meetings and also video calls. I have a lot of video calls. Today I already have 4 from people from all over the world. But the interest is there. Why? Because Thailand is one of the strongest economies in Southeast Asia. It's the region that is growing. So many people come here to set up business entities here in Thailand. Thailand, you can set up many different kind of entities if you are a foreigner. You can set up a limited liability company. You can set up a BOI company. You can set up a representative office. You can do a joint venture. There are many different kind of structures that can be implemented. The role of the lawyers, in my opinion, would be, I would say the role of the foreign legal consultants that exist in Thailand, doesn't matter the nationality, is that to protect the foreigner when they come to do business in Thailand. Because there are certain regulations that restrict not restrict, but I would say would make the things a bit more difficult when they come to set up a company. For example, the company, the shareholder structure, or the ownership of the land, or for example, the certain business sectors that require some license. So this one, what we do is always protect the foreigner, not only in the short term, but also in the long term, because at the beginning of the business like this. The first year, maybe you don't make much money, but the second year things start to go well in this dynamic environment that is Thailand. So this is our role here in Thailand. To set up a company is very easy. It only takes 1 day to set up a legal entity, a limited liability company. First, we book the name. If the name of the company is available, the next day we go to DPD and we register a limited liability company for the client. But of course, client has to consider whether they have a Thai partner or not. They have to consider whether the business require a license to operate or not. And they also, it's very important for us to understand the business plan of the client, what they want to do here, to be able to structure the company in a way that they will be totally protected and safe. But again, to set up a limited liability company, I would say here is easier than even in Spain. No? Here is much faster and more smooth, this process. The different thing is, for example, when the business require a license. This takes more time. This government fees is a thing, but many business doesn't require any license, so they can start to operate, very, very fast. After that, we do the VAT registration, the social insurance registration. We open the bank account for the client. The whole process of setting up a company, in reality, can be done without the presence of the foreigner here in Thailand. The only thing that requires the presence of the foreigner in Thailand is the foreigner is going to be a director of the company, is to open the bank account of the company, because the policy of the bank is that the director has to come and sign in front of the bank officer to open the bank account. The rest of the things can be done within 1 day and also without the presence of anybody here.
Okay, that's really, really interesting. And I think we just sort of touched on it before we came on air. What is the tax situation for foreigners in Thailand? So, for example, in I think the Philippines and Malaysia, for example, you don't pay any if you go on a retirement visa, you don't actually pay any tax on your overseas income, but you do pay tax on your local income. How are you taxed on your worldwide income if you decide to come and make Thailand your home, for example?
It is a very good question, and it's something that is very currently something we are doing a lot for many high net worth individuals. The problem is that many high net worth individuals, they come to Thailand because basically the tax optimization and also lifestyle and other reasons, no? But tax is also one reason, because Thailand is not considered a tax haven by the European Union, but it's true that has some regulations that are very helpful, if I would say, for foreigners who want to be here, relocate into Thailand. So, for example, this one is depends on many elements, no? For example, for Thailand, if you are a foreigner, it doesn't matter which visa you're holding. If it's a retirement visa, non-visa, if you're married in Thailand, it doesn't matter. If you spend here more than 180 days, you become a tax resident in Thailand. So, I mean, you have to do, you pay taxes, you have to pay taxes here. In addition to this, we always have to check if the country of where this person is holding the passport, the country of origin, has signed a double taxation agreement with Thailand. No? In the case that Thailand has signed, for example, Thailand has signed with Spain, have signed with Hong Kong, have signed with the US, with many countries. Then what we check is two things. First is the revenue code of Thailand. Second thing, we check the DTA signed between Thailand and the other country to see the tax exposure of this foreigner in Thailand. Because the rule, I mean, the rule of the revenue department say that if you have some income abroad and you don't bring it in Thailand within 1 year, basically you are not obliged to pay taxes on these amounts. No, but this is something that the foreigners, they like a lot to say about Thailand, but sometimes it's not true. So that's why we have to check sometimes the revenue code, the profile of the client. For example, the client has a business here in Thailand. If they have employees, they have clients here. Also, how is the source of income, which country, and also the DTA they have signed. Because the DTA, mostly of the DTA signed by Thailand, in the first 7 or 8 articles or sections, they define some concepts that we have to take in consideration in the profile of the client to understand whether these amounts that this person received abroad are taxable or not.
Right. So it's a very open question. It's very much for the individual.
I would say that, in my opinion, because we made opinions, tax opinions for clients in the same like question you are mentioning, for people from Hong Kong, from Holland, from Spain, from US, and I would say in different cases depends on the profile of the client, what exactly they are doing in Thailand, if they have clients here, if they have most of the interests are here in Thailand, if they have some employees in Thailand, and also the source of income where the money come from. This one depends on many elements to understand also what is the tax impact or the tax exposure in Thailand, because they are already tax resident here, they have to pay taxes here, but we need to check all this. I would say that each case is different, I would say.
Yeah, and obviously, if you're an American citizen, it doesn't. You're hit with, in essence, double taxation, because at the end of the day, you have your allowance, but after that, it's the only country I know in the world where you leave the country and you still have to pay taxes in the country, and you have to file a tax return. So clearly, for example, their situation would be completely different when you're analyzing their situation compared to somebody from England or Spain, for example.
I just had yesterday a meeting with some bankers, not only from Thailand, but also from the region. And they told me that they try not to open bank accounts for US citizens because, it's crazy about taxation, what is happening there. And also, all the banks, they also are afraid to lose the license. So sometimes, they consider the US citizens like a person that they should not accept, to open a bank account. And sometimes, they reject a lot.
So, I mean, out of interest, if you have American clients, are you able to open bank accounts for them?
In Thailand, yes, they can open bank accounts, but there is special questionnaires, the special documentation that they have to they have to complete, they have to fill, and they have to sign. Especially, for example, a citizen from UK or a citizen from Poland will never have to fill so many documents to open a saving account or current account here in Thailand. Like a US citizen is a different story.
So Thailand sounds a bit similar to Spain, as you say, papeles, lots of papers, yeah?
Yes, I mean, for some things it's true. It's a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of documents. It's true. I must admit this. It's like this.
So I think finally, the final question really is just to look at the takeaways of what we discussed so far, and what you would think are the major overview of people thinking and considering relocating to Thailand.
Okay, I'm telling you about my opinion, about my experience. No, I believe that if I would have a time machine and I can come back to the past, and I can say, well, instead of Thailand, maybe I go to another country. Still, if I would have this time machine, I would still choose Thailand. For me, it has been an amazing journey. It has been an amazing experience. I learned a lot from the Thai people, and I would say it's a perfect place for lifestyle and also for business. The business opportunities, the way that the people think here, the way the people elaborate business, they innovate, is very impressive. No, I would say that here in Thailand, changes that, for example, in Europe would take 50 years, here can be done in 1 or 2 years. The ability to change, to transform this society, this environment, this business environment is very impressive. So, but for me, it has been an excellent experience. But I would say that for people who are not very open mind, who are not able to innovate, who are not able to learn, people who are not humble people, I would say Thailand is not the place to be, because this place, I think, require a lot of flexibility, mental flexibility, ability to learn. Even if whatever, it doesn't matter your age is, you have to be able to learn all the time from this place. So it's not for everybody, but if you are open mind, you want to set up a business, you want to have a good lifestyle, you want to learn about many things, a different culture, a different understand of the relationships, about the religion, about the different things. I think it's a perfect place where you can be, and I would repeat it again.
Okay, so and just one final question for me, because I think it's quite important. What would you say the realistically for a person that's used to a reasonable lifestyle actually needs on a monthly or yearly basis to actually live in Thailand? So I give you an example. I would suggest that if you're an international person, you still need $5,000 a month to live in the Philippines. You probably need $15,000 a month to live in Singapore and Hong Kong, and probably the same amount of money a month to live in Dubai. But Dubai is slightly different, is that actually having any form of enjoyment is expensive, but you could live, if you're a monk, you can probably live in Dubai relatively cheaply. But on the basis that you're an average person, want to go out for dinner 2 or 3 nights a week, enjoy life, what would you say realistically you need to have to enjoy Thailand? And I guess there's probably going to be 2 answers. If you live in Koh Samui or Bangkok Central, I guess the answer is going to be slightly different.
Yeah, I would say I agree with you. One thing is where are you living in Thailand? No? If you live, for example, in Phuket or Bangkok, things are more expensive here. If you live in Pattaya or Samui, things are much cheaper there. No? And also there are things that here that are more expensive than Europe, and other things that are cheaper. For example, the food is much cheaper than Europe, for example. No? The electricity cost, the water cost, much cheaper. The rental of a condominium with swimming pool, with gym, with everything, security, with internet, everything is much cheaper than in Europe. But on the other hand, if you want to have a lifestyle like eating, for example, European food or drinking wine, this makes the things more expensive because many of the things have special taxation under the excise department and are much more expensive than Europe. So it depends how is going to be your lifestyle, I would say, because first, where are you going to be living in Thailand? Second, if you want to eat also not only Thai food, also the kind of food. If you want to go once per month to some beautiful resort, in the south of Thailand, or not, or you are just going to be in your place. Because here I met people who foreigners who live with 50,000 baht, that is 1,300 euro, I guess. They live there, and it depends on where they live. They live okay, and they live in a condominium with swimming pool, with with all the facilities, with gym. But other people, they spend maybe in one night 100,000 baht. No, that is around. Yeah, because of course they order Dom Perignon champagne, they eat oysters, they go. It's a different lifestyle. No? So it depends. Here in Thailand, you have a lot of concentration of wealth. So there's a lot of people who live a life like.
It sounds a bit similar to Marbella, where you can have a beer for €1 or 25 euros, depending on where you go and have the beer, right?
Totally true. I was in Marbella 3 weeks ago. I went there, and then I realized the same. You have this kind of a contrast, no? And here is the same. You have, for example, I go downstairs. My office is here in the center of Bangkok. If I go downstairs now, I would see a Lamborghini crossing near, a woman cooking some kind of a rice, in the corner. So everything is very near. It's the Chanel shop or the Louis Vuitton shop is in front of people that they are they're maybe asking for money or like this. So you have this contrast, between the ultra rich and poor, and the middle class is growing every year. But of course, it's people who have sometimes they have debts, they have loans, they have things to achieve, like this.
Yeah, so thank you very much for your time today, Jose. We could have obviously discussed for hours. I try to keep these down to under sort of 30 minutes so people can take what they get. So if people would be interested in coming to Thailand and maybe talking to you about the opportunities, could you tell me how people could contact you?
Well, our law firm is Herrera and Partners. I'm Jose Herrera, the managing partner, and then we have an office in Sukhumvit, just a few steps walking distance from Nana BTS station, and then they can find. You Google Herrera and Partners Thailand, you will find me. So I will be more than happy to receive any inquiry, also to provide some advice, even preliminary advice, for anyone to come to Thailand to have a smooth landing here.
Perfect. Well, as I said, you're my go-to person in Thailand, and I only recommend people in my network who I trust and like, and in both cases, yeah, mucho gusto. Yeah. So thank you for your time, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the video, and please feel free to connect with me on my personal website, nickstewart.co. Really looking forward to hearing from you. Bye for now.